Right, guys, we're trying to film episode 4, but we've got a problem that our guest has buggered off and he's fishing. Look. He's out there. All right, get back in here. Right, guys, welcome back to the Lure Fishing Podcast, episode 4, and we've invited Tommaso Martinelli back, because obviously he's been back to Italy and come back again. And I've tried to hoodwink you by putting on a different hat and a hoodie rather than my t-shirt.
I forgot my spare hat.
Did it work? And also, I'll let you into a little secret. I've had to tell these two off because they were talking. Just talking about fishing. I said, guys, we haven't got time to talk. We've got to talk about this on the podcast. So I've had to. I feel like I've gone back into school teacher mode.
We was playing with toys.
Yeah. They were.
Yeah.
Tommy went out fishing. You saw it on the intro. I had to shout at him, get him back in. Unbelievable. It's like having kids. Right. Pay attention, both of you. Or you have detention. You won't go out fishing until we're ready.
Oh, God, that's terrible. I'm going to see you.
Right. So, Tommy, episode 2, loved it. It was brilliant. And we were talking. We naturally got onto jerkbait fishing straight away. Still got the rod behind me. This Wolf Creek rod. We are going to talk about jerkbaits in episode 4. Now, to fish jerkbaits correctly, you need to have the right rod and reel. You've got to start off with basics here. It's amazing how you see people trying to use jerkbaits and they've got very strange contraptions in their hands. So from your perspective, what makes a really good jerkbait rod?
First of all, length. Before talking about the action, it's all about length. A good jerkbait rod can't be longer than 6.6 foot. And that's simply because of the action you need to give to the jerk. So most of the times, unless you're 7 foot 4 tall, the action is from the from high down. So this is pretty much the kind of movement you try to give to the rod. And so unless you want to smack the tip of the rod on the floor every time you do that, you want a short rod. First of all, that's the length. Second part is the action. It has to be a very, very stiff rod. Absolutely fast, extra fast action, because every little movement that you want to give to the rod has to go to transfer straight to the lure, to the very end of the line. And so that's those are pretty much the two characteristics: length and action. In terms of stiffness, I see sometimes people just get completely overboard with that. I see 15 ounces rod, like 14 ounces rod, that there's no really need for it. My personal favorite, this is fantastic, but my personal favorite rod.
But also, you're not just saying that, are you?
No, I'm not, honest to God. Yeah. It's a really nice rod, to be fair. I mean, what I like about it is that all my jerkbait rods are one piece, right? Before I had a bigger car, so it wasn't a massive issue. But now I just downsized the car. Yeah. And having a one-piece rod all the way through the car can be a bit of annoying to transport around. Well, this rod is a two-piece, but actually it's got a through action. It's got the same action that you would expect from a one-piece rod. So that's very rare. Normally, especially with heavy blanks, what happens with the joint is that you can hear it. You can hear the little cracking, because it happens. It's a very stiff rod. It's a very powerful big blank, and so if the joint is not at the top of the game, you can actually hear it when you're fishing, and it gets really annoying after a few hours. Well, this rod is absolutely silent. Really nice blank. But my personal favorite jerkbait rod is one I built myself. So there's quite a funny story behind it. It's an evergreen Temujin gunslinger. Originally, it was a 1.5 ounces rod, and it was 7 foot. What happened is that a friend of mine that I won't mention, Owen Fletcher, broke it one day, and he snapped a bit of it. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to throw it away because it's got a sentimental value as well. Wayne kindly called one of his friends that is a rod builder, and he sent in the blank and basically just kept it as it was, put an eye on top of it, just realigned the eyes according to the new length. And I got myself the absolute best jerkbait fishing rod I've ever had in my life. 95 grams.
Wow.
can handle up to 3 ounces jerkbait without any problem. I've landed some humongous pike on it, including my longest 122 centimeter to the fork of the tail in Finland. My PB in the UK, 28 pound, 10 ounces, again on a jerkbait. So it does the job to me. And another characteristic of a rod that people overlook, what you've done today, I don't recommend to put such a big
Oh no,
reel.
that's just forget the reels on there. Yeah.
Because you walk the rod a lot.
Yeah.
I like other kind of more straight retrieve kind of action that you want to get to the hook. Could either be a swing bait, could either be a big shad or something, a spinner bait. In this case, you walk the rod a lot. So if you have a very heavy setup in your hands, unless you're a bodybuilder, by the end of the day, you're going to feel it in your shoulder.
When you've got a big
your
wide
arm.
reel, it takes it out of your wrist. You want something slimline, don't you? But
Sort of sits in your hand.
that's all I had available at short notice.
There you go.
So it was a case of I'm not taking one off another rod. But yeah, so you want a nice slimline reel as well.
Yeah.
What braid do you use on your jerkbait?
Just about to ask that because all this is very. I'm listening intently because I'm not. I've not done much jerkbait fishing, so it's all very new to me. So I'm learning as much as anyone else watching this. But yeah, that was my first question. What's your go-to braid and diameter as well, like strength? Like what do you use for it?
Well, it depends on the environment I'm fishing. If I do not know anything about the place, as it was when I fished this place for the first time, I tend to use a 4-strand braid. And there is a reason for it. The 8-strand braid, if you're fishing around rocky spots and you don't know about those rocks, you can use 100 pound. As soon as it rubs against the rock, it just weakens. And if it's a very big pike that drags you there, chances are that it's gonna snap. Because it's great, it's smooth, but the abrasion resistance is absolutely it's the lowest you can get. A 4-strand. It gives you much more resistance.
Gives you a little bit, doesn't it?
A little bit more. It's quite actually much more. It's the same thing with my perch fishing, you know. I've had a few conversations about it. Oh, Tom, you got these 1,500 pound worth of setups. Why are you using the crappy 4-strand braid? Well, the reason is I don't want to be cheap with the braid. Is that I need that 4-strand because I'm fishing between weeds. Now, if you use an 8-strand, it doesn't cut through the weed as well as a 4-strand because it's much rougher. Now, what you have to make sure when you use a 4-strand braid on a jerkbait rod is to have very good eyes on the rod. It has to be good, has to be at the top of the game because if the stone is not as good, it's such a powerful braid, it's such a rough braid as well that it can cut through them.
Cut the eyes, yeah.
It can cut through the stone and literally make a dent in it, and that's not ideal, far from ideal.
Yeah. What breaking strain braid would you say that is on there?
When you're pike fishing, I don't take chances. A lot of people...
Just guess that. This braid, I've never seen braid like it.
This is pretty much what I would say. This is 60, 70
It's
pound.
80 pound braid.
80 pound, yeah.
This is Strike Pro braid that I have had got a bulk spool of from Joe Peterson probably about 4 years ago.
Nothing
I
wrong with
can't
it.
find. No, it's very tightly woven. Doesn't hold water as much as
There you
normal
go.
braid.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly strong, thinner diameter than normal braid for this strength. I use it on all my bait fishing setups for pike fishing because it's got the strength, but also my hands don't get soaked during the day.
Yeah. Which is really, really important.
It's another little thing to consider. So actually, it's superb. I can't remember what it's called. Like I said, I had this bulk spool. I cannot find it anywhere.
Oh, really?
No. So Joe's obviously American. He made the guppy, designed the guppy. So he gets stuff from CWC and Strike Pro.
Yeah.
When we were musky fishing, they were using this because we're musky fishing all day. I was soaked. My hands were
Of
soaked.
course you are.
And I said,
Especially if you straight retrieve. With jerkbait, it happens much less.
Yeah, as soon as So I said to him, he goes, you need this braid. Hey, Andy. And so I said, can you get me a spool? Yeah. So yeah, he sent me one through the post. So obviously
No, it's a very good braid
it's
to be
lovely.
fair, and a lovely braid. Well, I don't go very expensive when it comes to braid for pike fishing because I'd rather change it often. Because again, especially when you fish for pike in kind of rough environments with a lot of rocks, a lot of stuff on the bottom, if you can end up rubbing on.
Talking about river fishing in particular, fast flowing rivers as well. We spoke about the Trent season episode 2. Yeah, as soon as you nick something with braid, you've got to strip the whole thing off and go past it.
There you go. And so I'd rather using something a bit cheaper and change it maybe even 3 times in a season. That's how many times. If I really pike fish a lot, I have no problem whatsoever changing braid 3 times in a season, because I think that everything has to be at the top, absolute top of the game when you target pike, especially when you're trying to get the bigger pike. Because you know, we all after that. To me, is a 30-pounder, because I caught quite a number of 20s. I have never weighted a 30-pound. Now I probably caught a couple, especially in Sweden and in the Baltic Sea, but I didn't weight them, so they don't count. But I never caught weighted 30, and so that's my aim. Now, last thing you want is to lose that fish because you use a crappy clip, crappy braid, crappy leader, and on top of that, when you use a big lure, you got the responsibility to land that fish, to free it from that lure.
Yes.
Because you might as well kill it if it stays in its mouth with a few yards of 80-pound braid.
See, I come back from the old bait fishing brigade days, so when I use braid for my bait fishing, it's at least 80 pounds because it's got to be bulletproof, because you've got to get that fish in and hook it to get it. Yeah.
And you know, that's something that going through social media, Facebook, I see a lot of people arguing against that. So, what are you using there? You're not fishing for tuna. So you take away from the fight, you take away from the enjoyment. If you care for the fish, the last thing you want is you study a bit of physiology about pike, their biology. They're probably the oldest predator in fresh waters in Europe. It's 100 million years old. We're talking about these fish were around when T-Rex were around, right? Exactly. That's how old they are. And so their body is perfectly adapted, but it's very primitive.
Yes.
They cannot resist to a build-up of lactic acid in their muscles. They cannot. So you can get these fish, it took me 25 minutes to reel it in, but then I let it go and it went like nothing happened. So but then it goes down on the bottom because they cannot come up. Even their swimming bladder is completely different from one of a more modern fish. They cannot regulate it as well as a perch or a more modern kind of species. And so you have to be mindful and respectful of the fish that you're fighting. And so I'd rather take away from the epic fight with a 20-pound pike and just get it in as fast as I can. Don't mess around, put it on the mat. If I can, I hook it on the net. If I cannot, get it on the mat, open the mouth, know what you're doing. Another big suggestion, take someone that is experienced with pike fishing with you. If you've never pike fished before, don't go alone, because the chances are that you're going to get scared, because you can get hurt with those teeth. And I've seen pike, one too many pike with ripped off gills, the rackers have been ripped off and the mouth have been split open, damage to the jaw, because people just go and rip it off because they're scared. Go with someone that knows what they're doing, learn from them, and then go on your own. It's an apex predator and needs to be respected.
I get really frustrated when I see people holding up big fish and they've got red lines on the top of their back because they are stressed to the nth degree. That's where they get the lactic acid build up. They've been thrashing about in a net, and you can see they've gone from being pristine to red raw in seconds, just because people have fart-arsed about with them. They're not experienced anglers. They haven't done what you just said, and they're desperate for that perfect picture.
But you know what? I mean, the non-experienced angler, there is a cure for it. And so there's people that can come with you and teach you the way.
Sadly, the experienced anglers still do it.
That's where I want to get to. I mean, I've seen very experienced angler with fish in the same situation simply because they had to take the perfect picture, perfect shot, perfect angle. Oh, can I see the lure? Can I not see the lure? Is it clear? Is it visible? Man, it's a fish.
Just while we're on that subject, you know what I do? I use this.
There you go.
I stick it on video, so I use my iPhone.
And then you get the frame from the video.
I have it back on me, so I don't even have it on the best lens because I don't. It's about getting the fish back. I put it wherever I am, stick this up very quickly, have it on video, and then get the line hooking mat on the floor in front of me, kneel down, pick the fish up. I'm then posing it on the video, 2 or 3 seconds, and if I show my videos, you'll literally see me, if I'm in a boat, go, floop.
There you go.
Because the fish is straight back.
Yeah, of course.
And then, like you said, you can then, on the video, you just get it nice.
You just get the better frame.
Get the best picture. I actually
the best frame.
double click on it. Well, I click on each side of the phone. I've got the picture, and then I just export it into Photoshop. And and just pull the
Tidy
colours
it
out
up,
of it,
yeah.
just tidy it up. Now, it's beyond me why people sit there and fart ass about with all the expensive cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, all this camera here, I've got the timer. I don't use it because it's not the best for the fish.
Yeah.
This is the quickest
way.
way of doing it.
That's the way.
So, guys, there's a little tip for you. Use your iPhones, video yourself, get a stand. If you're on the bank, you can just literally lie down in front of your mat and if you're fishing, hold the fish up.
Yeah.
It's done, fish is straight back in the water. So it's interesting you touched on that. But
Yeah.
so many people, it's just like, what are you doing?
It does my head in.
Yeah.
I mean, because we do so much to try and protect these fish, especially. I mean, I respect every size fish because the 5 pounder of today is the 20 pounder of tomorrow. So
Yeah.
if you don't respect it, since from that size, it will never get to the size you want to start with. And if you are lucky enough and good enough at what you do to land a big 20 pounder, a 30, God forbid, treat it for what it is a gem, is a rare animal, is a special fish. There's no many of them out there. Not many of those fish. That people think every pike is going to get to 20 pound. No, they don't. Same as every person is not going to get 6'6".
Exactly, yeah.
It's genetics.
Genetics, yeah.
Some of those fish grow big, some others don't. It's a matter of genetics. So those genes are invaluable for the next 20 pounders. They're going to be out there in a few years. Without those genes, you won't have 20 pounds.
I'll tell you what we'll do, Charlie. As part of a podcast, we'll do fish care and we'll go catch a pike and hook it, photograph it, and we'll show everybody how quick it is.
Yeah.
I think it's better. Just show them how to do it.
100% agree.
Yeah.
As there's more than one way of doing it. I'm not saying we've got the perfect way, but when you just,
Nobody's perfect.
The most important thing is being prepared and efficientness.
Yeah.
So you see it very often. People get a fish out on the mat and they go, "Oh right, where's my pliers?" And I need side cutters. Where are they? And
Everything there.
You have everything ready to go. Leave the fish in the water. Everything ready to go. Worst case scenario, and then okay, I didn't need side cutters. Great, but I hadn't ever needed them, or whatever it may be. And it's just speed. And it is practice. The more you do it, the more efficient you become at it, the more proficient you become at it.
Yeah.
And you do it, and the fish is released quicker, and everything's better because of it.
yeah, crazy. Right, less of that. Let's get on to jerkbaits.
Yeah, we've done the rod and the reel and everything else. Just the important bit.
This is the bit we like. This is the candy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
this
Now,
is the bit we all.
I went to Sweden recently, and we'll speak about sport fishing fairs in a moment because we're going to go on to that. And we mustn't forget Charlie's quiz.
Yes.
Which, right, guys, now, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. So, Andy spent probably about an hour getting the quiz ready for episode 2. Did you enjoy that quiz? Even though you didn't get anything
I'm
correct?
absolutely terrible. I didn't even get my own law.
No, you
Right,
didn't.
so I'm terrible.
And I
at that,
didn't give you the Aussie hat to wear, so you were lucky.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, I spent about an hour doing this, right? Okay. And then, so Charlie's come up with his quiz. And he actually fessed up, didn't he, earlier?
I did it in the car ride on the way here.
You're too busy for your own good.
I know. It's okay. But hey, I got it done.
So I hope it's a visual experience for us.
Oh yeah, very visual. You'll be watching me looking at a phone screen. Yeah.
Right,
Let's go for it.
We'll get to the quiz in a minute.
We'll
Right.
do that in a minute.
So COVID stopped me doing lots of things, like going to America and going to the Swedish Sport Fishing Fair. But I went this year, and obviously I've got an association with Wolf Creek, and Anders Ulfason, who owns the company and is the brains behind it all, is basically very famous in Sweden for making handmade jerkbaits, wooden jerkbaits. Now, for the uninitiated, to look at a jerkbait that's handmade, you look at it and go, so what? Mm-hmm. It looks like a bit of wood. Charlie, when I showed you this action in the boat, how could you best describe it?
It's unreal. You never think something so simple looking could do so much in the water.
Yeah.
For the uneducated, for want of a better term, you look at these baits and you think, oh, a crankbait makes sense. It's got that great big a bill in it, and it does something. You can see why it does what it does. When you see something like that, and then you start to understand the work that's gone into that, in the balancing, into the size, into the shape, into the profile, all these different things that gets the desired result. Yeah, it's unreal. And it's worlds apart. That's when you start to understand the difference between a bog standard off the shelf and a handmade, handcrafted. There's a huge difference between the two.
Yeah, so I've got a Wolf Creek skinny here. That's a factory-made jerkbait. They're small. This is what...
Yeah, they are.
Small jerkbaits are cool. They work. So that's got a really nice action in the water. But when you start using something like this, it blows out to the side. It will go up. It will go down. It will turn upside down. The belly roll and flash on it's incredible. And it's
One
just,
thing that most people look for is a consistent action. And say, that lure is very consistent, so it works wrong. Predators, in my experience, and in every predator angler's experience, really, they don't go for the healthier fish, for the healthy fish, for the healthiest fish in the body of water. They try to grab something that is wounded, because it's going to be an easier prey, it's going to be an easier catch. The reason why, if you throw a little live bait on a hook in the midst of a shoal of other live baits, for some reason the predator goes for yours. Why? Because it doesn't move as well as the others.
Yeah.
It doesn't go as well as the others. And so a lure, in an ideal world, need to replicate the kind of a wounded fish action. And it's not about the color. I've seen some companies, even big companies, they've done that kind of scratch that looks like it's bleeding. I don't buy into that.
that's more to catch the angler.
That's for the angler,
Yeah.
right? That's not for the fish. The fish, they don't see that. What they see is the movement in the water, which is erratic, which is not the movement of a healthy fish.
You want something inconsistent, but it's just
It
all over
is,
the place.
because
Yeah.
when a fish is dying, if you check a dying fish in the water, it doesn't swim straight. They swim all the way around, up and down and belly up, and then that's pretty much the action you want to try to replicate.
And all good jerkbaits do this. All I've hooked myself. So when you showed us
Sharp
the
hooks.
glide bait in episode 2, and this handmade bait, straight retrieve, unbelievably they do the same thing.
Yeah.
Now Joe Peterson made the guppy, CWC guppy, to do exactly that. It was made for anglers who don't know how to jerkbait fish, so they could still have confidence using a jerkbait just with a straight retrieve. So the best jerkbaits, if you retrieve them straight, will still do something.
It's a kind of a slider, if you
Yeah.
want, like the one. I think the very famous one is Salmo. The slider is
Salmo slider,
fantastic
yeah.
because it's easy. I mean, it's a very easy lure to use. If you jerk it, it still works, but not as well as it does on a straight retrieve.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's been designed for, to make the non necessarily massively experienced angler life a bit easier. While jerkbait is. There is one thing that isn't written in any book or in any kind of leaflet for any lure. Jerkbait is one of those lures that you really have to commit to, and you have to believe in them. Because the first time you, as you said, you hold it in your hand, say, bloody hell, it's a piece of wood. It has nothing to it. It's literally a piece of wood painted. How is it catching fish? And so you have to commit to it, and you have to learn how to use it, when to use it, and what kind of retrieve is the best on that day.
Do you know, I've with my fly fishing, I've learned just to completely relax, right? A bit of manana, and I do the same to a degree with jerkbait fishing.
Yeah.
I'm using big shads, little shads. I'm concentrating just to try and get them exactly the right depth. With these, you don't have to concentrate because they're going to be at the depth they want to go to because they have a natural buoyancy or sink rate. But what you can do is get into a rhythm of a retrieve that on the day you feel confident's going to work. Because that's the other thing, you can change the retrieve on the
change the way
day
you like it.
and they can do different things. So it's interesting that you were talking about this sort of staggered reel approach because when Charlie came out of the boat when I was using this one, I said, look at the retrieve when I do this. And that's when it was blowing up. And the straight retrieve, it was more of a dart. And when you're imparting action with the rod tip, it was more from side to side.
Yeah, of course.
And it would be the same as this. And you can then, that's a fun thing about jerkbait fishing, isn't it? You can then, on the day, and even times of the day,
You can I mean, it's an experience. I remember watching a video of, I can't remember if it was the Duke, maybe it was the Duke, or Matt Hayes, one of the two guys. They were fishing Chew Valley on a day, and for how good of anglers they are, which are really good anglers, they couldn't get a bite on that day, and then they switched to jerkbaits. They couldn't get a bite even on jerkbaits to start with, and then I can't remember which one of the two starting slowing down the action a lot, which is something that not many anglers do when they pike fish. Don't think about that big bam, 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 that rhythm. Slow.
yeah.
Slow. They starting going slowing down, and they had huge number of.
And that's where the rod is so important in this because you can feel everything. Because a number of times you get hit, the pikes come up from behind, so you get a slack liner.
Exactly.
And then
most of the bites are like that.
so
on jerkbait.
actually, if you can't feel what's going on, you can't feel the slack liner so easily. You've got to be
Absolutely. I mean, it needs to be. It's just the system around the jerkbait. the thing I love about the jerkbait as a lure, that it has a whole system studied around it, and it has to be there.
Yeah.
You cannot use a swing bait rod for a jerkbait. You cannot, because it just doesn't work the same.
It's funny that for viewers may actually remember this, but this harkens back to something we had talked about with Tom Hunt last year, when he has what he calls his crankbait system. So there's specific tools, specific jobs. He has a rod and a reel and a braid, and everything else that works just for crankbait fishing would be useless for anything else. And it's the same with jerkbait fishing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you really want to get serious about these things, you have to understand why these things are important for different arms of lure fishing, and where they have a place and where they would be useless. It's interesting. The more you get into it, you pick up these little bits and pieces of information that all sort of piece together to a bigger puzzle.
You need the right tools to actually.
Of course you do.
So I'm going to go into several things. But one thing I wanted to mention is, have you noticed how smaller hooks I put on these?
What's that? The size?
I
Smaller
like
hooks,
actually not to go overboard with the hooks on smaller
it a size
jerkbaits.
2 or
They're
1?
twos.
2.
And the reason being is that jerkbait fishing's got a really bad press in the UK over the years for having massive hooks.
Yeah,
And the fish getting caught in the outside of the eyes and all sorts. And these big baits that were musky baits, we spoke about slightly in episode 2. That's what you need, a hook to balance the lure to a degree.
Of course you do.
And that's the problem. So I actually go a little bit under, and what I found is the hook rate's just as good.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference.
There is a rule of the thumb that I apply for all my lures, right? What I like to be is, how wide is the body of the lure? I want the treble to be at least a slightly bit wider in their widest part of the body.
Slightly a bit wider.
And this is it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Doesn't need to be
there's no need to put a 5-0.
No.
First of all, it's going to screw up the action. Second off, they're probably going to be tangled together. And literally, the best jerkbaits out there, they can either be handmade, they can either be made by some company. What varies in them is not these dimension, it's these dimension. And so they always be quite thin lures. You don't need massive hooks unless you've got a very wide body, because then you want the hook, the treble, to cover their area, right? But on a body this wide, all you need literally is a hook that is only marginally slightly wider to allow the best hookup ratio possible, and then you play with the depth.
Yeah.
And that's the profile of a lure, and that's what, to me, makes a massive difference in the target of part of fish you're targeting. You're not targeting a fish with the length of a lure, in my opinion, but you do that with the depth.
The depth, yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's why
it's the profile.
Between episode 2 and episode 4, I actually chucked this outside, and it's got a hell of a body roll.
Yeah.
It flashes as it's coming back.
It flashes like a real fish. It flashes like a real thing, and that is a beginner's lure, the way I see it. It catches fish no matter where you're at in your experience, because it works so well, but it allows a beginner to catch lure, to give you confidence on that system of retrieve, on the idea of a lure that is not a straight bullet, but it goes side to side and it rolls, and so it gets you closer to the world of jerkbait, which, I mean, the people that fish with me know that, to me, pike fishing equals to jerkbait. I just love it to bits. I love it so much, sometimes I do it when it's absolutely counterproductive, but I just love it so much. And I'm going to get bites eventually, because I just believe in it so much and persevere so much that eventually it's going to trigger that bite. But I admit that I got a really weak spot. But the reason for it is, though, that it just catches when nothing else can. Yeah. And that's the reality of things.
I'm going to go into more depth in a moment. So just so people, this is a skinny wolf. Skinny Junior, not Skinny Wolf, Skinny Junior, that's a factory-made one. If anyone sees me fishing the next couple of weeks, I'll have some spares of these, and if you come up to me and say you've seen the podcast, I'll give you a pack, because I've got some spares that Wolf Creek gave me to give out.
Nice.
So we're not going to send them out to people, but if you actually physically come up to me, you see me at places, and I'll keep some in the van. So I remember what I had that. Now, this is where this gets really in-depth.
Hold on. Where's mine?
He's just got my spare jerkbait.
Do you know what I mean? I'm sitting over here. I'm just saying, I'm not losing jerkbait fishing. Not once has he offered me a bait. Like,
what colour do you want, mate? You can have the crap one. No,
what's that hand painted one at the front there? I'll take that one. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So, let's go really mad on jerkbait. So, obviously, I've got an association with Wolf Creek, and we don't have a history of bait building in this country much, apart from
There's a handful, yeah.
Yeah, that Robinson Lures.
Robinson Lures. Barry Robinson, I believe his name to be. So this is one of my recent acquisitions. Got no idea how it swims or what it does. I haven't thrown it yet. I've literally taken it out of the packet today.
So that's the only lure maker I could tell you of handmade wooden baits.
There's a few. There's a few that are not very well known. It's like you say, we haven't got a history for it. So they haven't got the profile that they have in Scandinavia.
But in America, where the musky fishing
Yeah.
is being, obviously they're mad. They've been making wooden baits for ad infinitum, and in Sweden it kind of like got a cult following. And I didn't know anything about this. So over the years I've been catching up, and at the most
Holland
recent,
as well is massive.
is it?
Yeah.
Even Italy.
At the most recent fair, that's what I'm going to talk about in a minute. I'm going to tell you this story and see if it's got the same sort of context in Italy. So I'm there on they opened up the fair on the Thursday because of COVID. They gave it an extra day, and they had all these baits hanging up. And I said, "Are you selling those today?" He said, "No, I always sell them on a Friday. I'm not going to sell them on a Thursday because it's not fair because everyone thinks they're for sale on the Friday." And I'm thinking, these are €100 a pop.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, people don't. That's very nice of him. People don't think like that. So he had a release. He was opening it up at 9 o'clock on the Friday morning for sale. Klaus, who mentioned Schwarzschwanker, Klaus Clausen was doing his at 1 o'clock on the Friday.
Right.
So all these baits. So first of all, I stood there and I was just videoing a few people, and there were people queuing on the Friday, and I said, "Explain to me what it is about these baits, because being English, we have no idea about this history."
Before you start that, I'm just going to pause you very quickly. Need a wait. I'm going to hold it in.
Don't cut it off. There has to be on
We're
the
gonna
podcast.
put- yeah,
there has to be on the podcast.
We're not cutting it off, are we?
No,
No,
don't cut that. Sorry, I'm
Sorry, guys. Nature called. I had to put a pause on then. I was trying to be very polite and hold it in, but we'd have had a pool under the table if we'd have waited much longer.
You know what that was, don't you? Because you were too busy chatting before we started.
100%, yeah. I've drinking
Tommy went to the
15,000.
toilet
Yeah,
before we
yeah.
started,
I've drunk 15,000 coffees. Too busy talking about.
I'm a professional.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, but
I'm back.
I don't want to rattle too much on, but I want to explain this little story
Yeah.
because it might have some context in Italy. So these people were queuing up for these baits, and I'm thinking they're 100. They're 100. What they are is they're £100 each, not euros. They were Swedish krona, but they would have been the £100 for
The
life.
equivalent.
And I'm going, that's a lot of money for a piece of wood because I'm still. So I said, what is it about these baits? And they went, it's not the baits.
It's the bait maker.
It's the bait maker. I went, what? They said, Anders he doesn't promote himself on social media. He says it's the only time we get to speak to him. And he actually talks to us and looks at us, and we know he's paying attention to what we're saying. Whereas a lot of the other famous bait builders don't. And I thought, they said he's such a lovely, caring man, cares so much, passionate about his sport, only makes a few. He said that the baits are brilliant and they work superbly well, but it's actually the man behind making the baits. And you kind of go, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's not this, it's actually the whole process that's
Yeah.
gone into it.
Yeah.
Now, to take this a stage further, Klaus Clausen, who owns Schwarzwalder, so I know him really well. So we were having a chat about, he's a chef. He's basically like what's the Scottish chef? Does the
Gordon Ramsay.
He's kind of he used to do a program going around restaurants.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Klaus has got a hell of a history behind that, and he brought out a book that tells the novice bait maker how to make a plastic bait with all the recipes of what you need to make the bait.
Wow.
Fabulous, isn't
And at the end, he's actually got cookery recipes as well.
Brilliant.
But the reason he's done it, he says, because people need to know, because I want to share the knowledge. And he said to me, Andy, if I'd have brought this book out 10 years ago, nobody in the bait making world would speak to me ever again. He says, because it's gone full circle, people know they need to share information. And then he told me the story behind all these guys were collabing with each other, like in the early 2000s. So Anders and Klaus and this guy Martin Bromberg, who is still independent, just making his own baits. There's a whole group of them that would communicate about how to make that design, how to make that shape.
Yeah.
So Klaus was saying his first big order was like 23 baits for Danish guy. He's on Perch Pro a lot. Stefan Nielsen. Who's Sporting. He had put in an order for 23 handmade baits, which was back then was massive. For him.
Yeah.
And he said he couldn't do it by doing it by hand. He phoned Anders and said, Anders, what? He says,
What do I
you need this machine just to get... So they were sharing, even then, all this information. So these baits have got one hell of a history of how they were all developed with all the different guys. Now, towards the end of the show, Klaus went, Andy, come here. And he went behind his booth. I'm thinking, what's he doing? And he goes, he was looking at all these baits. And he was talking to himself. He's a bit mad, in a nice way. Yeah. And he kind of nodded.
Every little builder is like that.
He picked this bait up and he come back to me and went, you must have this one. I went, oh, I can't. He goes, no, you must have this one. And he had different writing on each bait, depending on the conversations he would have with certain people. And he said, this bait has been made out of the rafters from my house.
Wow.
And he then said he'd used something from the house to get the burnt effect either side. But it was his 4th season of baits. So he doesn't do them all the time. Season 1 was called like Love. Season 2 was called like Death, and I think this season was called Love and Death. But it had so much meaning to it.
They're genuine craftsmen. They're genuine artists and craftsmen.
They're artists.
And they're totally... So you see Klaus Clausen, because he's promoting himself a lot, and people see the Schwarzwonker plastic baits, but his history is the wooden baits.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
there's so much thought process goes into it. And how many hours between them have they spent developing what is, to us looks like a piece of wood, but it's what wood it is, how it's weighted, how it's carved, how it's shaped, what resin they use.
It's literally everything about it, the way they balance it, the way the kind of wood they source, and the way they work the wood, and how they balance the weight inside, and even the armor, like within the jerkbait, that normally is passing through iron all the way through the jerkbait, because of course you're supposed to be fighting big fish with it, so you want that kind of extra resistance. But to find a fine balance on a handmade, and to give consistency as well to your production. Now, the beauty of handmade lures is that there's no consistency. Literally, because no lure is same as the next one. Because they're handmade, literally. So that's the beauty of it as well. But still, to get that consistency in results, meaning that even if they're not exactly identical, they still work and they still catch fish. And there's so much research and there's so much thought process going through it. I was lucky enough to be I've befriended on Facebook one of the most famous hardbait builders in Italy. It was more about tropical fishing, kind of GT, dogtooth tuna and stuff like that. So it was more into that. But such an artist. Unfortunately, passed away due to COVID in 2021, but I still have some very fond memories of all the conversations we had over the internet. And I mean, the passion, you could really tell, apart from the knowledge, like you have to have a lot of technical knowledge behind it. You cannot just go out there and build a lure. Could either be a popper, could either be a jerkbait or whatever, and just it works and this is it. There's a lot of knowledge and study behind it, but the passion, I mean, the level of details that go into that fish behavior. Like, I know that this lure is for that time of the year, in that kind of environment, in that specific circumstances, with that temperature, with that visibility, with that. How do you do all that? Fishing hours and hours and hours, like, spent on the bank, taking notes. What I've noticed about this guy and other lure makers is that they tend to take a notebook with them, and then to them they write down when they catch a fish in certain circumstances. They write down the spot, temperature, watercolor, everything that was going on in that specific moment in that spot, what the spot looks like and everything, and they do that, and then they find a pattern. And I saw, okay, that works. Let's try it again. The conditions are exactly the same. Let's try it again. It works again. We got a pattern. And they follow that. So the level of commitment, the attention to details that go into making that lure goes back to the personality of these people. They are artists by all means, but they have such a technical insight on what the fish wants that makes them just stand out.
And I think that this is what I think doesn't help us in the UK, because we haven't got that history.
No, that's true.
And I think we're looking at America,
Yeah, of course.
Europe, there's particularly America's a very deep and extended history of bait making.
Massive.
In Europe, it's far greater than it is in the UK, and all that knowledge has been passed down through generations, hasn't it?
It's true.
And I think
It's true,
so.
yeah.
A lot of the basics that the European and American lure anglers have, we don't even know because we're playing catch up and we're missing out. We're trying to catch up so quickly, we're missing out. So something as simple as using a jerkbait and actually finding out how it was made, the history behind how they came about. I think to actually utilise them properly, you have to actually start to look at that.
There are steps to
Yeah,
get there.
yeah. It's not just about buying something, chucking it out and reeling it back in because they're not designed for that. And when you get, I mean, I'm fortunate. I was given these. I don't hate using them. That's the wrong word. I'm very wary of using them because I don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
But they are awesome. But it's when you use them actually see the difference between a factory produced one and a handmade one. You just kind of, it blows your mind. You kind of go, the variations you can do.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there are very, very successful and proven factory-made jerkbaits that plenty out there. I'm not going to drop any names, but I mean, people know. Salmo, just to name one. I mean, there's so many jerkbait makers that on a factory level, and they're actually proven and they work. But you're right. I mean, what you get out of a handmade kind of jerkbait, you do not get with that. You know what you can do? Or you can talk to the guy who actually made it. Say, listen, I'm fishing that place at that time of the year, that day. Can I pick your brain? I want one of your jerkbaits. Can I pick your brain on what jerkbait should I be using? That, mate.
There's American muskie bait anglers who won't sell their baits unless they actually know the person and like them. I mean, it's like...
It's a part of you. I mean, it's a big part of their life. As a lure maker, it's a massive part of your life, what you're making, that lure. Because it's the accumulation and the end results of your experiences, of your knowledge, of your hours and hours spent on the bank and designing and studying and engineering. And so somehow it's a kind of a I think it's not far from a sculptor, let's say, selling their work. Some of them do that as a business, but most of them won't. I mean, if you go to that kind of artist, say, how much is their sculpture? It's not for sale. It's mine, mate. You know, that's pretty much the same approach. Because if you think about the mindset and all the knowledge that's behind that piece of wood, it's pretty much the same that is behind that piece of marble that then it becomes a Michelangelo sculpture. It's the same level of knowledge. It's the same in depth. Now, not everybody's as skilled as Michelangelo sculpting, but the mindset, the process, that is the same.
But the collaboration between these guys, they haven't done it on their own.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, I mean, very quickly, before we go on to other things, who made that and where did you get
this is actually, it does my head in because I can't remember. So I bought it such a long time ago, and this jerkbait, this specific jerkbait, I mean, I don't know if people can see. If you
I'll do a close-up later,
you can have a close-up. I mean, this has been absolutely hammered. I don't know how many 20-pound plus pike it's caught, but I wouldn't know, honest to God. It's called my PB in the UK, 28-pound 10 canal pike. A number of 20-pound plus are still from canals and rivers. Caught me the 2 fish here in Londonfield. Both fished last time. Again, it is a phenomenal jerkbait, it is, but it's not just that, it's how much I believe in it. I know his track record, right? And so when you got something that you really know, this is the best, this is my go-to lure, when I really don't know what to do, that's my go-to lure, you will end up catching something. I
Definitely.
just have so much
totally agree with
belief
that.
in it.
Yeah. Cool. Right, I've rambled on, Charlie.
Yeah, no worries. Should we quickly touch on shows?
Yeah, and then we'll do your well-prepared quiz.
My very well-prepared quiz, yeah. So, like, obviously, you mentioned you've been to Sportfishmessen, and there's all these huge shows in Europe. It's like everything with lure fishing. We're still babies here in the UK in regards to where it's going, how it's going. But we spent a bit of time together at the big one this year, and it was very refreshing to see such a huge lure section at a UK fishing show.
Shout out to Dave, by the way. Dave Greenland is
absolutely, and it only grows from here, doesn't it? What we'd like to, personally, it's great seeing your Z-Mans and your all these your Mollocks and Spro and Fox or whoever. It's great. I love seeing the shows that they're invested in the UK scene. What I really would like to see is Barry Robinson and people like that, Tom Moyer, the grassroots guys who are doing it on their own, and really who are injecting life into the lure scene. I'd love to see some like that, like a lure makers row or something like that would be fantastic.
Well, you're going to next year.
I hope so.
Charlie's coming to Sportfish Massel with me, and
of course,
they have a row
Yeah.
of. This is where Martin Bromberg. See, Martin Bromberg's still got his little table and chairs like we're sitting here. Anders has now got Wolf Creek. Klaus has got Schwarzwonker. They're all from the same stable.
Yeah.
And there's a whole row of these independent bait builders. But you're right, it'd be great.
We're not there yet, but
We could be.
we could be. You've got to start small. It's only got to start small. A handful of people who, it's 5 or 6. It's all you need, and it's where things start.
Tom Moyer, even though he's producing BFS plastic baits, his mind is amazing. He is designing, field testing baits, making moulds.
He's doing it all.
He's doing it all.
Yeah.
Doing the whole, and he's doing it on his own.
Yeah.
His mind is amazing. How he's just trying all these things out, and so he's not making wooden baits, but he's doing the same process.
Yeah.
But he's doing it all on his own.
Yeah.
And in this country, I'm afraid, us English, it's ours. Keep it ourselves. And everybody, because sadly, other people just steal things and they won't collaborate. With lure fishing, there's a very small cake, and everybody's competing for a bigger slice of a very small cake. Whereas, if they could just see, we could have a much bigger cake, and everybody can have a bigger slice of the
I can make you an example from my old day work, right? I used to work for Nestle Waters UK now is the largest producer of bottled water in the world by a long shot, like 3 folds bigger than the second. They sponsored and run a campaign to promote tap water as a drinking category. And I was like, why would you do that? I mean, you produce Buxton, Pure Life, the best-selling bottled water in the UK. Why would you promote that? Because we want to grow the category. We want to grow that market. We want to stop people to go out there and buy the energy drink and just get a bottle of water from home, because it gets into the habit, and eventually we'll end up buying the...
It's all a long game, rather than right here and right now, I need to make money right now.
And if the most successful food and drinks corporation in the world does that, we do that for a reason. So if you don't work to grow that category of lure wranglers, you don't get people to get into that category, you will still keep stealing like crumbs. Crumbs.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I can't remember who I spoke to about it recently. It might have been Andy. The only thing we've got to compare it to here in the UK, as a specific genre of fishing, is carp fishing. Carp fishing is the biggest thing in the UK, and you start to see that happening. So not too long ago, if you was, I don't know, a Nash angler, you'd be swearing if you said corder. You couldn't say it on a video. Now they're all collaborating. They're all on each other's podcasts, they're all being in each other's videos, they're all working together, and what they're doing is they're collectively growing that arm of the sport. Yeah. Because there's not guarded, we're not like, pretend you don't even exist, I don't even want to know about you. They're all working together, and it's better, and it's a nicer environment for people. There's no poisonous sort of...
you see what we are doing today is pretty much that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you show me a jerkbait rod, Monix do jerkbait rods. I just don't like him, and I'm very honest about it with my feedback. You gave me a jerkbait rod that I really like, and if I was to suggest to someone to buy a jerkbait rod between Monix and this one, it's not even close. Just go for this one. But that level of honesty and transparency earns the movement credits.
Yes.
Because there's so many sponsored anglers out there, right? They say, buy this is the best ever. He's a piece of shit. But so fun, my friend. He is not.
And they're not using it themselves.
They just hang it off the mouth of a fish, or put it in their car to take a bloody picture, and then they go back to what they actually use because it is much better and it works better. So you don't grow the movement by lying and cheating. No. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're just lying to yourself, you're lying to your sponsors, you're going to get found out at some point, and people out there say, it's just a circus, I don't want to be involved with that.
Exactly.
Let's go back to match fishing.
Yeah.
And so you don't grow what could be 15 times the size is today if there was just more honesty, transparency, collaboration. So that's what I'm promoting. That's what I'm all about, and that's why I love days like this, because we get to talk about stuff that normally is Molix, so we have to talk about Molix. No. Molix do some fantastic things and some other things that are not as good. And I will never tell people, oh, buy that because it's Molix written on it. I don't care. It's not as good. The day will be as good. I will be the first one to promote it. That glide is absolutely phenomenal, and I will promote everything about it until I can. Stick flex, fork flex, great lures. The RA shot, the RT shots, they really do work well. There are other lures out there that are nowhere near as good, and they won't hear me talking about it. I mean, Molix, they know me. They don't call me up, oh, Tom, I need to promote that lure. No. Give me that lure. If it works, I will show people.
That's the only way to
promote.
be.
I show.
I'm exactly the same. I just use what I use. If people want, they can have samples. I don't care.
Of course.
Molix
do jerk baits. These is my jerk. It's not Molix.
But this is, like you're saying, this is where the longevity comes from, and this is where the long-term growth comes from. If people get on this sort of thought train and things go this way.
I know I keep harping on about it, but at the Swedish fair, you see everyone's got branded tops on, but you'll see them in other people's booths. All weekend. Because there's people coming for Anders's baits. And they're all but they're all actually catching up with their friends.
Of course.
And actually, if the general public are asking them questions, they will then help that person out in that booth about their other products. They won't then try and steal them and march them back to their booth. It's not like that. It's just, and I did a little video. I mean, it's not exactly here nor there because it's only such a small thing. But I had Evert Ustrom on it from CWC. I had Magnus Deezer from CWC. I had Jokke, who's the Svartsfonka managing. He works at the warehouse. He does all the stock. I had some of the Wolf Creek guys. No one cared of which brand they were from, and no one said, "Oh, you can't do that because that's not that." Yeah, of course, no problem. Vision, they're on it, and you just think, I wish some of the people in the UK could see how they're all collaborating for the one thing, which is the growth of the sport of angling, and whether it be fly fishing, lure fishing, it doesn't matter.
No.
I mean, just one thing that most people don't bear in mind is that, I mean, fishing is under attack as a sport because of the animalist movement, the animal rights, and the environmentalists that don't even know what environment looks like, but they still pretend to protect it. And so when anglers are actually some of the very few people that have the conservation and preservation at heart, because it's part of their life, right? It's part of what you do. What these people that sit on their sofa, they say, oh, that fish is struggling, it's out of the water, it's dying. You're polluting every day tons of stuff in the water. I see that, I protest against it. I call the environment agency, I let them know when there's a leakage. I'm the first one because I'm there, because I care.
The eyes and ears.
You don't. So don't talk about me. But this period, in Italy is huge, in Europe it's massive. In the UK, it's still not there because, as you said, I want to sell this pack of lures rather than that pack of lures, so I'm going to make things up. I'm going to go against that guy. We are all part of the same big sport.
We're all brothers and sisters. But we're not behaving that way.
We are like-minded people. I never sat down with an angler for more than 5 minutes and think, I don't really like this guy. Of course I do like him. We like the same things. We're all like-minded people. So competition is a great thing. Collaboration is the biggest thing. If you don't get into a cooperative kind of environment, then you try to grow the sport, to communicate the sport to people. Like, this is what we do. We respect the fish. We put it back. We care about it. It's not about selling that bloody lure and taking 1 billion pictures of a fish that is red. It looks like a bloody goldfish because you took it out of the water for 3 days to take the perfect angle. But that's counterproductive. Great fish, brilliant looking fish, great shape, quick picture, little kiss, back you go. This is it. That goes beyond the brand, that goes beyond everything. I've had a few bad, at the beginning, bad chats with Molix. I said, oh, Tom, I need you to put the picture of a fish with the lure in the mouth. So if the lure is not in the mouth because it's patted on the net, or was deep hooked and I had to unhook it, or whatever, there is no way I'm going to stick it back in their mouth, because that gives an absolute horrible show of what fishing is. That literally is torturing an animal for your own gain. I don't do that. If the lure stays there, more than happy to take a picture. If it don't, it's a picture of a fish. You like it, you take it. You don't like it, leave it.
Also, people get to know the angler. They know that the angler's actually got a lot of merit in what they're saying.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
It's worth more, you know, what they say is worth more.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting, and I say we really only wanted to just touch on this and sort of spark a conversation widely. So, you know, please,
I
please.
went out on a tangent.
No, it's good. We like tangents. But it'd be nice if we had more of a tangent from you guys watching as well. If you give us some feedback, what's your thoughts on it? What are some ideas that we can do with the UK sport show scene, sport fishing and show scene? Where do you see it in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 15 years' time, or even as little as next year or the year after? What's some ideas? We want to hear from you guys. You guys feed it. You guys are the ones consuming
Well, they
it.
are the movement.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not the three of us, it's the movement.
If you're watching this, you're part of it.
Yeah.
You're part of this community. You know,
Of course you
so have an input into it. You know, guide it, shape it how you would feel like it should be shaped. And the best way to do that is start communicating with other like-minded people, and do that through us. You know, that's what we're trying to do, is give it a voice. Have a comment. We can share those comments. We can then share that opinion with the wider audience. That's what we're aiming for. That's what we're trying to push things in that direction. But yeah, I think that's nice. We've got our serious bit out of the way. Should we get the silly quiz out of the way? That took 3
There you
minutes
go,
preparing.
let's go for it.
Well, the serious bit wasn't even planning, were we?
No, very much not.
It's
I've
just
been
the
looking
flow
forward
of
to the quiz.
conversation,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. It's an important one to
And
have.
there's so much passion about a certain subject, and
Yeah.
to us, fishing is a very serious thing. Of course, you end up talking about more serious topics.
You'd be
but,
hard not to.
I apologise about it.
Most important question of the episode: chicken or cow?
The cow didn't bring me any luck. I go chicken now.
Right.
There you go, buddy. Yours.
So my quiz isn't anywhere near as good. Go on, test them. Perfect. My quiz isn't anywhere near as visual as Andy's, but and it's got a theme though. It's got a theme. So what I'm going to be giving you, I'm going to be giving you a lure fishing brand.
Right.
Right. What I want you to first tell me the country of origin. So where that brand originated. Okay. Then
I'm going to get all these wrong.
So and then
I'm not even going to try. But
whilst it's in the country of origin, I'm going to give you multiple choice of the year it was founded.
oh my god.
Okay.
Right.
So the person that gets the country right gets the multiple choice.
Yeah, so
Right,
you
okay.
could
Right.
potentially double up your points.
Okay.
Whoever wins gets
Yeah.
double up the point.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Okay, so
Should
fingers on
we
buzzers.
go fishing? What is?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that, you know.
Yeah.
I keep looking at their legs saying, I want to be there.
Okay, right. Fingers on buzzers. Ready? Brand.
What's that?
My watch was getting involved. Right,
Probably
the
get that
first
right.
brand. Z-Man. I had the chicken first, I'm afraid.
USA.
It is USA, so it's 1 point for Tom. You've done better than last time already, Tom.
I'm already winning, right?
Right. Year of founding. So was it 1985, 2001, or 1979?
I would say 1985.
It was 1979.
Oh God, yeah, even better, even.
And I've given
better.
what I've given is a little factoid for each of these brands. So if you're
Factoid? Is that a word?
Factoid, yeah.
Wow.
If it isn't, I've just made it up. Because I'm a bit of a nerd and a geek with things. So
Factoid, I like that.
Z-Man, although founded in 1979, largely was behind the scenes. So they used to make a lot of skirts and things for people behind the scenes without actually being a brand. They actually first came to the public in 2006 when they released the Chatterbait. That was the originator of the Chatterbait.
Right,
So
because I remember, I actually remember the conversation that Gary Yamamoto, an interview
That's
that
right.
he gave, it was talking about Z-Man, and it was back at the end of the 80s, maybe beginning of the 90s, and so that's why I got 1985. But
there you go. Right, so that's 1 point to someone.
yeah,
Brand number 2, Kitech.
I go with it.
I think
Yeah,
saw your
no,
hand
I
I'm
was
going to get
first.
this wrong.
Go on.
I'm going to say German.
No.
Nah,
Go
Japan.
on. It is Japan.
Right.
Right. And I'm going to give you the it says 2 points, so I've got to try and remember the points now.
Shall I write it down somewhere?
It's all right. Andy will put it up as a visual as we're going along.
Right.
in post edit.
Right, it's easy because Zero's going to
Yeah,
spend
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I have no
I
idea.
can write it down on the wall if you want.
Okay. So the year is either 2003, 1987, or 1996.
This is a tough one. I'll say 1987 maybe.
It was 1996.
There you go.
And the factoid is Kitech was founded by Kai Hayashi, hence Kitech.
There you go.
Kitech comes from.
Are you sure it's not? Oh no, I think of a German name.
Right. Brand number 3. Ready? And you've got to get at least one, otherwise you're sacked. Okay. Spro. That's definitely chicken. Don't blame the buzzers, you bought them.
My hand didn't move.
Right.
Honest to God, I don't have a clue. I will go out on a limb. It's bro. It's likely Germany.
It is not. So Andy, you've got a chance to redeem yourself.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I'll give you a clue. Do you want to give you a clue?
Yeah, give us a clue.
What's the clue? It's not going to give it away.
No, give me a clue though. Give it away.
You didn't give me any clue.
How obvious should I make the clue? Let's make it quite obvious. You may find tulips in this particular country.
Ah, come on.
I would never have got
He
that.
needs the help.
Oh,
I didn't-
come on.
Right, so the Netherlands.
What about windmills?
Yeah.
Windmills,
Clocks,
tulips.
yeah. Right, the year of... What year it was founded?
I know this one.
I definitely don't. 1976, 1999, or 1994?
Too easy.
Go on.
94.
It was 1994.
This is cheating. Right? Honest to God, I mean, it shouldn't be allowed. Right, I'm going fish.
So
2 each.
That's 2
No,
on.
I'm going fish.
So the factoid for Spro is actually part of Gamakatsu and was created purely to serve the European market.
Oh.
There you go.
Interesting.
Right, I think Tomo will know this one. I don't know if Andy will. Brand, I've got a
French.
question. Brand number 4
French.
is... No, not French.
Damn it.
Salmo.
Sweden.
No,
Salmo.
Salmo.
Oh, it's Scandinavian.
No.
Oh, no.
I knew this. I don't know how I knew this, but it's not. In the wrong end of Europe.
Oh, Poland.
Poland. Correct.
Yeah, I was thinking about Rapala and I said, what? No, Salmo's Poland.
Salmo is Poland.
Yeah.
Right, the year, Tomo. So it's 3-2, by the way.
I would have said Finland, I think. We should have been wrong.
1971, 1981, or 1991?
I'll go with the one in between.
get it wrong.
1981.
It was 1991. Salmo was acquired by the Fox International Group in 2016.
It's not the way I put them under
Remember
pressure.
that, yeah.
Yeah, building the pressure.
It's time to psych me out.
This is it, number 5, and this is the last one.
Right.
Okay. So where are we at score-wise
When
now?
you said-
4-2. So you need to get both of these correct to even draw.
No pressure. I haven't got a clue. You could be here all day.
I ain't got my
This is, and this one's difficult. Westin. The chicken.
I don't know what to do myself about Weston, to be fair. Can I call Tom?
We don't have a phone a friend option, I'm afraid.
We don't. Right, cool.
I'm going to have to put a time limit on.
Give me a bit of an... I mean, you're
You're winning, you don't need
Oh,
it.
come on. Oh.
3, 2,
Germany.
no.
Right, I'm going to say Swedish, but I think they're Finnish.
It is Swedish.
Oh, it's Swedish.
Right, so now,
That was lucky.
so you have to get this right to
Why did I think...
draw.
I knew
Okay?
that something about that symbol was throwing me off a little bit.
Well, actually, it's strange, because the reason it's difficult is now they're based in Denmark,
Right,
but they was originated in Sweden.
yeah.
All right.
Right, and the year,
I know this.
was it 1943, 1967, or 1952?
It was 67.
It was 1952. So that means.
It was tight.
Hold on, I'll just get the 52. By the way, that's a old lure brand,
Yeah.
1952. So I forget the name. I should have written it down. The name of the guy who invented the first bait. It was called. I'm going to absolutely butcher this in Swedish. Yatta, which is giant in English, and it was a wooden bait, and it's where the Westin roll in quotation marks was originated. And even early on, it accounted for a £45 Swedish pike. That's when it grew.
Do you know what? You've redeemed yourself with the factoids.
Yeah.
Factoids are great.
The factoids are great.
I love it.
I like those, yeah.
So that means it is 4-3 to tie. So
Got a
you've redeemed
winner.
yourself, and Andy's sacked.
Yeah.
After you've done the editing.
Well, that's quite the obvious conclusion, isn't it? I mean, yeah. It's
I'll
obviously.
beat you out there, don't worry.
Yeah, brilliant. That was good.
It was good, yeah.
That's good. Well done.
Loved it.
I think that's a pretty good place to wind it up, isn't it?
We have.
Unless you've got anything else to tick through.
No, we've been an hour and 4 minutes. We
Have
said
we
we were
really?
going to be
Bloody
25 minutes an episode.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. I know we'll definitely be fishing after this.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're
You will be,
going
yeah.
fishing.
Can I? Shall we go?
Let's go. Right, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks again, Tom, for being with
Thank you. Thanks a lot
for
for
Andy
having
for
me.
losing. And we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.